We now turn to question number 6 from my friend the Sheikh, in which he asks me, he says that I have the impression that while the Shia Muslims are at the forefront of the struggle against takfirism, Sunni Muslims are much more ambiguous in their attitude towards Wahhabism and takfirism in general. Is that so? Why is it that while in Russia there are men like Ahmad Haji and Ramzan Kadyrov who are openly mortal enemies of takfirism, they call it Wahhabi shaitans, most of the Sunni world outside of Russia seems to be at least silent and dares not declare spiritual war against these sects. Sheikh, I do not allow CNN to manufacture terminology and then to hoist and foist that terminology upon me, that I must use their terminology. The Western media will not tell me what language to use. The word takfirism comes from them. We don't have this language in Islam. No. The habit of pronouncing a legal opinion or a fatwa that someone is no longer a Muslim, he's now a kafir, a disbeliever. This act of pronouncing someone to be kafir, from that comes the word takfir. Takfir from kafir, to declare someone a kafir. And this has been there in the world of Islam long before the Wahhabis ever came onto the face of the earth. Yes. And this habit of giving legal opinions of different people are now kuffar. Kuffar is plural of kafir. It exists in the world of Islam independently of the Wahhabis and the Saudi Arabia and so on, and Muhammad Abdul Wahhab. In India, for example, you have the Deobandi and you have the Barelvi. And the Barelvi declare of the Deobandi that they are kuffar. The Deobandi declare of the Barelvi, and this one declare of that one, and that declare. It's sectarianism. And so takfir, this business of delivering fatwa of kufr, is there and is not connected with the Wahhabis in Saudi Arabia. No. It is a disease, a sickness, which is all around us in the world of Islam. And to hijack the word takfir and now give us a noun called takfirism, and to isolate the use of this word now to the Wahhabis of Saudi Arabia who came out of the Saudis. We do not allow our vocabulary to be used in this way. Now then, the conduct of the Wahhabi Muslims, who are the Salafis who support the Saudi state, those are the Wahhabis. In my definition of the Wahhabi is a Salafi who is in support of the Saudi state, because you have Salafi Muslims who are hostile to the Saudi state and who are in prison. The Wahhabis are a people who are now an endangered species. Yes, you have ISIS, which has been created by the Saudis and which is an illegitimate child of the Saudis and which is now poised to take over Saudi Arabia from the Saudi state and bring to the heartland of Islam something even more vile than the Saudi Wahhabi religious movement. So it is not right to say that the Shia are the only people who are opposed to takfirism and the entire Sunni world is either silent or in support. This is not factual. And we should be careful and study our subject so that we make opinions based on facts. The truth of the matter is that the overwhelming majority of the Sunnis of the world reject the Saudi state. The overwhelming majority of the Muslims of the world, the Sunni Muslims, have responded with great anguish and great anger at the conduct of the Saudis, for example, in the demolition of buildings, which are sacred buildings for us in Mecca and Medina, in what they have done to the Kaaba, in making it like Las Vegas. The majority of Sunni Muslims in the world today consider this to be obnoxious. Majority of the Muslims, Sunni Muslims in the world today don't like that Saudi regime out there. And there would be a lot of smiling faces on the day when Saudi Arabia returns to the garbage bin from which it had originally emerged. So there is not this question of Sunni Muslims in support of the Saudi Wahhabi movement, the religious movement which emerged out of Ibn Abdul Wahhab. Rather, there is a lot of resentment against them in the Sunni world. But you also have in the Sunni world of Islam, like you have in the Shia world, so many different divisions. And in these divisions you have a lot of fatwa of kufr. And so we ask you to be circumspect in your use of language and do not absorb terminology uncritically, which has been fashioned by the Western media and then hoisted and foisted upon the rest of us. Like, for example, calling a scholar of Islam a cleric. Please don't use that word for me. Cleric, I say that's the door. Please go. Don't come back. Because we don't have that terminology in Islam. Cleric. We don't have any clerics in Islam. This terminology is not acceptable to us. So takfirism is something which has been with the Muslims all through their history, and I don't think it is a unique phenomenon now with the Wahhabis who are rampant now with their ISIS. And now we turn to the last question for today, the seventh question, and that is, having submitted these questions above to you, I now feel that I need to ask you, what are the main historical grievances of Muslims towards Orthodox Christians, or the main events in Russian history when Muslims have felt that Orthodox Christians or Orthodox rulers have wronged Muslims, persecuted Islam, or otherwise acted sinfully against our Muslim neighbors? In other words, what are the main reasons for the Muslim distress of Orthodox Christians? Sheikh, I love this question. Oh yes, I love it. Why? Because you Orthodox Christians, you got homework to do now. I've done my homework. I have looked at Muslim history and I have recognized the conduct of the Ottoman so-called Islamic State to have been unjust. And I have denounced them for their injustice and their oppression. I have denounced them for their wickedness to Orthodox Christians in waging bogus jihad against Orthodox Christians, and Russia in particular, for so long. I have said that Muslims have the right to defend themselves when they are oppressed. But I have said that it is false, it is wrong, it is wicked to accept money from the CIA and weapons from Washington to go and fight your jihad for liberation from oppression. No, you don't take money and weapons from Saudi Arabia, which is a bogus client state of the Zionists. You don't take money and weapons and training from Turkey, which is a NATO member state, to wage a jihad for liberation from oppression. So I have made my position plain and clear as to how Muslims should respond when they are oppressed. But I cannot and I will not look at Russian history and look at the history of the Orthodox Christians and say, you are wrong in doing this and wrong. That's your work. You are the ones who have to do what I have done with Muslim history. And when you have pointed out to me that, yes, we did this wrong, we did that wrong, that the Tsars were not our Tsars. They were foisted upon us. And Tsarist Russia made an attempt that the Soviet Union followed upon to try to crush Orthodox Christianity. If you do that research, and if you tell me these things, then we can respond. But I don't think it's proper for us to examine Russian history and Orthodox Christian history and to say these are our grievances against you. It would be much, much better if you were to do what I have done with Muslim history, and I pray that you will do it. Thank you.